Hi again, this is Miss Dimitri, your school librarian, and at this point you've gone over the online Big 6 lesson, and you've done your quick quiz, and you've seen some videos and some other resources to kind of get you familiar with it. Now, in this presentation, we're going to go over the handout that your teacher will give you, and this is going to help guide you through the research process. So I'm going to give you some examples of each step. Now remember to refer to it because it's like a checklist of reminders on how to stay on track, because it's very easy to get off track and kind of get stuck. So this is what it looks like. And so what's on the handout? We'll review each step. So step 1 is task definition. You'll be asking, what topic am I trying to learn more about? What problem am I trying to solve? It can be either of those or along those lines. And on the handouts, I'm going to have in green some questions or ideas for you to think about, to ask yourself, so that way it helps you kind of understand what the step is asking you to do. So on this slide it says, what am I trying to find out about and what information do I need to help? So number 1 is a big step because it can be overwhelming not knowing where to start. But you can just start with something that maybe you're really interested in. So you may ask, for example, what exactly is climate change? You've been hearing it a lot in the news or heard it in conversation, so you want to find out more about that. Now you may find out later after you start investigating that you need to narrow it down, and maybe you need to focus on what are the effects of climate change, or what is causing icebergs to start to melt. So you start narrowing it down as you get through the process. Or it could be some social issues like why is there not enough food in our community as far as supermarkets? Maybe there's not a lot of quality food access. And maybe a side question to ask is, who's regulating our food to make sure that it's healthy for our bodies, and who does that? Who in the government does that? So you can find out more about that on that side of things. Or maybe it could be just something, maybe you really love animals and you want to figure out how to help animals in the animal shelters and why, and figure out why there are so many at such a high rate there. So it could be really anything that you decide. Now, after you've come up with some ideas, I know number 1 was a long process, but you're going to come up with a plan on how to find information to help answer your question. So in green on the slide, after looking at a lot of sources, I have found helpful places to find information I may need. So maybe you've looked on the online encyclopedia, maybe you've looked on online sources like Newsela, maybe you found some print materials in the library. You're going to start finding some general places to look to find some information. Now, a lot of you like to use Wikipedia. I do sometimes as well, or a lot of times I do, when I want to find out really quickly what something's about. So it's a good way to get an introduction to something, because you may find out later on maybe it's a topic that you really don't want to do at all once you find out the general gist of it. And change it up a bit. So that's okay, but Wikipedia is definitely not something we want to use for all of our information. We need to start really searching out different sources for that. So step 3 is location and access. So here in green it says, within the specific helpful places of information, so like that Newsela program, for example, I have found the exact information I need. So within that, you're going to start looking for those little bits and pieces of information that you're actually going to use to address your original problem or question. And along the way, you're going to be checking, is this reliable? Is this something I can trust? Number 4, step 4 is use of information. Now you're going to ask, how do I take out the exact information and use it for my topic? So you're asking, is it relevant to my topic? So you're not going to research the melting down of the icebergs and then start focusing on how carbon gases are affecting people's health, overall health. That kind of goes with what's causing climate change, the carbon gases, but it's not exactly the question that you're asking. The question is what's causing the icebergs to melt. And it could be, sounds like it would be the same thing, but there's probably a little bit more complexity to it. So you got to really investigate. Now, so number 4, again, is reliable information, and keep on taking notes throughout the process for references. Always cite where you got your information. You got to give credit to the person or the organization that put out that information. Number 5 is synthesis. How does it all fit together? So in green it says, I'm going to take all my information and create something that will be information for someone to learn about, which then evolves into new knowledge. So I talked about in the first video, the introduction, about knowledge. You are trying to gain knowledge, but you're also sharing knowledge as well. So the only way, when you present this information to someone else, you share it with someone else, the only way they're going to gain knowledge is if you have something of quality that makes sense, that is very in-depth, where there's a lot to it. So that way they retain the information. So, again, take notes on your references, so that way you have information for your references. But synthesis is bringing it all together. So I have an image on the slide. It shows analysis versus synthesis. In the Big Six process, you are doing some analysis where you're looking at one piece of information and then you break it apart to see if it's going to work and what it's about, what is it explaining. But the overall product that you are putting together is a form of synthesis where you're bringing the parts and together to form one whole. So on the bottom of the image you have a rectangle where the red arrow is pointing to it. That's where you want to end up, because that is bringing it together to where it makes sense. So all that hard work ends up in a product. That can be, for example, a presentation. Maybe you present to your class. Maybe it could be a blog, part of a blog that you're sharing some new things that you found about your community, on how you need to get some supermarkets in with some access to quality food, or another form of it can be as a research paper. Maybe your teacher is asking you to do. It could be really anything that creatively you can come up with. So the very last step is 6, evaluation. It's very important to reflect on the whole process. So the question you may ask here in green, how well did this overall process go in meeting my original idea, and what is the quality of what I created? It's always good to keep yourself in check and see if it lines up, because then you see, okay, maybe you could have done better on a certain area and improved upon it. Or is this product that you created something that most people will find very, very helpful, that they didn't know about? Maybe some people in your community didn't realize, wow, I didn't realize that we didn't have any supermarkets. Maybe that's why we don't have sometimes the access to nutritional food options, and things like that. So that's always great when you can actually create something that will help someone else. So that is the end of the steps of the Big Six. Some key points is that it's not always linear, so it's not sometimes going to go in the exact order. It may overlap the steps. There may be points where you may return to a specific step, like I said, for example, the climate change. You may go back and say, oh, I need to narrow this down a bit, and go back to the original topic. And the Big Six is overall meant to help make it easier for you. So please learn it, because it's going to keep your ideas organized, because it can be overwhelming. It's a lot of information and it's a tough process. So it is there to help you. Okay? I will look forward to seeing you in the library, and I am available anytime to help you out. Thank you.